Hello, everybody. Tracy Mrs. JDog Flanagan with you here today. I'm the co-founder and senior vice president of JDog Brands. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Tactical Treasures podcast. Our podcast gives veterans, male spouses, and active service members a voice in the veteran space to speak about their service, how they are affecting their communities post-service, and a tactical treasure from their past that has shaped their journey in their military career, business, or life. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Brigadier General Maureen Weigl. Brigadier General Maureen Weigl was commissioned as a distinguished military graduate in 1993 through the Reserve Officer Training Corps at the University of Pittsburgh. Over her 25-year military career, Brigadier General Maureen served in the Army Reserve's Active Army with the 10th Mountain Division, the New York Army National Guard, the Pennsylvania Army National Guard, and the National Guard Bureau. In 1994, as a newly commissioned lieutenant, she deployed to Haiti to support Operation Uphold Democracy. In 2008, then Major Weigl was selected by the Director of the Army National Guard to deploy to Iraq to research methods of documenting service members who were exposed to rapid acceleration and/or concussive events. Brigadier General Weigl retired from the Army in May 2016, and since her retirement has been a champion and advocate for her fellow veterans, serving in a number of nonprofit organizations and starting her own woman-owned, service-disabled, veteran-owned small business, Pro-Rec Resource Solutions, where she provides government counseling, talent management, and recruiting services. Today, Brigadier General Weigl is the Deputy Adjutant General for Veterans Affairs in the state of Pennsylvania, where she supervises the administration of state veterans programs, reintegration and outreach, and veteran initiatives for more than 700,000 veterans and their dependents, as well as overseeing the operation of the Commonwealth's 6 veterans' homes. Wow. And we cut that down from like a 2-3 page bio. That's amazing. What an incredible career you've had. I love it. So welcome to the podcast. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. I'm really excited to speak with you.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm as equally excited to talk to you and talk about veterans in Pennsylvania and answer any questions you may have. This is a great way to start Veterans Day week. Thank you.
Oh, yes, definitely. So could you just tell us a little bit about your military service? What led you to join the military, and what did you feel was the most impactful aspect of your military service?
You know, it's funny. I actually never wanted to serve the military. It happened upon me accidentally. I played sports all through high school. I played basketball, was one of my favorite sports. I considered playing basketball in college, but I was a little burned out at the end of the senior year, and I decided just to go to college. So I went to the University of Pittsburgh, was having fun, but I was missing something. And a woman told me about ROTC. She was a nurse. She said, just come try it. You can take 2 courses or 2 years of courses without committing or signing a contract. I was like, really? And I joined, and I absolutely just had a ball. I loved the competitiveness. I loved the team concept that I enjoyed and missed from my high school sports and my friends. I enjoyed the challenge, the physical challenge of doing physical fitness and then rappelling in West Virginia on weekends when everyone else was hanging out and going to football games. I enjoyed the pattern and the discipline. And so I was like, wow, this is really fun. But I kept procrastinating on signing a contract. And then my sophomore year, I went to my professor and said, okay, this is kind of fun. I'll do it. Because he told me I could only go to airborne school and jump out of planes if I contracted. And so he told me then, it's a little too late for a scholarship, but you can still join, but you could join the reserve. So I said, okay, that's fine. So I became a private in the United States Army Reserves out in Pittsburgh. And that summer, I went to basic training in AIT, and, I had no idea what enlisting in the military was about. I was in college, hanging out with college kids. We were shooting weapons and rappelling, and it was a lot of fun. I was like, this Army stuff's fine. But when you go down and you're a private and you arrive at basic training and you have drill sergeants yelling at you, you're like, oh my God, what the heck did I just do?
Right.
But at night, bed, and I would listen to women crying. Because back in 1991, women were not allowed to be single parents and join the military. You had to give custody of your children over so that you can enlist. And if you had to deploy or do your mission, you did. And these women would be crying. They didn't know if their ex-husbands or their parents were taking care of their kids. They weren't communicating with them. I mean, I was getting like 10 to 15 letters a day from all my high school basketball team and all my friends. And I mean, it was really different to relate. But I knew then that I loved their desire to give their family something bigger than themselves. And they chose to serve in the military to accomplish that mission. And I had so much respect for them. And I thought, wow, I'm going to go back to ROTC here at the end of AIT, be a college kid, put on the rank of cadet now, no longer call myself a private. And in 2 years, I'm going to be a lieutenant leading these women and leading troops like this. And I was really excited. And I went to my colonel and told him I wanted to go active duty and I wanted to try this out. And I loved it. I was good at it. I had a lot of fun with the leadership. And, you know, I was always lucky that I had wonderful opportunities. I never had a job I didn't love. Anywhere from being a second lieutenant, going to Haiti as the only female on an aircraft, not having running water, showers, or food for 15 days, just MREs, which is, you know, still a challenging, different experience than I ever got to do and walk around and you're in Haiti looking at a third world country. It was intriguing and interesting and fun. I know that sounds crazy, but it really was. And you learn a lot about yourself and about other people. And you build such close relationships when you're in Haiti, cleaning weapons, hanging out, not doing much. So I kept staying in every time I thought I wanted to get out. A new opportunity opened up that I just thought, well, that sounds really fun. So I switched from regular Army to the New York National Guard AGR program. So I get to stay on active duty, but work for the New York Army National Guard. 9/11 happened. I was 8 months pregnant with my second child, and I was moving to Pennsylvania shortly after 9/11. And that changed a lot of the landscape for the military and Department of Defense and the National Guard.
Right.
When I went to state, I was teaching ROTC, and the kids we were going to commission, we all knew we're going to go to war, right? This was in 2001 and 2002. And I was there for 2 years. And then I was asked by the Pennsylvania Guard to come down to Fort Indian Town Gap and help run mobilization policies and personnel actions. And we, in 2003, mobilized the largest number of National Guard troops since the Korean War. So again, it was just so exhilarating and stressful and challenging. And you just never stopped to think about what you were doing. You just did it. And then I was asked to go down to National Guard Bureau in DC to write personnel policies and mobilization policies from my experiences in Pennsylvania. And then I volunteered myself to go to Iraq. My kids were only in first and third grade, but I went over to do a project for blast tracking to look at folks who were in an impact area of an IED or an explosion to see what that does long term for mild traumatic brain injury and traumatic brain injury, very different than PTSD. And it's, you know, an issue that Gulf War veterans faced more than Vietnam era veterans was the Gulf, was the blast exposure, concussive types of traumatic brain injury. So I'm not a medic, I'm a human resource officer, but I went to go and do a research to figure out how we can track that and document it. So if they needed benefits down the road from the VA, they would have documentation to support their claim. And when I came back from that, they put me in recruiting, and I always loved recruiting and marketing. I did that earlier in my years, and I was able to be in charge of a lot of National Guard, multi-million-dollar contracts and recruiting initiatives to continue to recruit for the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. The op tempo was very high. Everybody was deploying, and we had to keep up with the recruiting to make sure that we could meet the end strength in the mission. And that was fun. And then I became the chief in charge of suicide prevention, sexual assault, family programs for all of the National Guard as a colonel. I loved that job as well. Worked with a lot of government contractors, so I got really familiar with how to run government contracts. That was a great experience. And then I was asked to go work at the Pentagon for a three-star and four-star general, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So I ended my active duty career there, came back to Pennsylvania to have some ankle surgery. And then I decided, yeah, it's probably time to retire I don't want to be one of those old officers walking around. So I loved 25 years went really quickly. I loved every second of it. I mean, you had your challenges, you had your moments, you wanted to be like, what am I doing? But it was always such fun, and I really enjoyed it. So when I retired, I did not want to go work for another company. I don't think I could have found the same kind of passion and enjoyment from a corporation side of the house.
Sure.
So I started with amputees, trying to help them find better adjustable clothing to give them a better quality of life. So I was in New York City working on the fashion industry and working with different clothing manufacturers when someone asked me if I would help them in consulting. So then I opened my own woman-owned service, disabled veteran-owned small business, and I started doing government consulting, contracting, as well as staffing. And then one day I got a phone call and said, hey, would you come back to be the Deputy Adjutant General of Veteran Affairs? I was like, are you kidding? I've been groomed for this job all my life. I love this. So I get to take care of 700,000 veterans in Pennsylvania, and I run 6 long-term care nursing homes, and I'm anywhere from Philly to Erie, at a nursing home, at one of the prisons, at the homeless shelters, at an American Legion or VFW, or giving speeches. And it's so nice to work with all of our partners that are helping take care of veterans. And in Pennsylvania, we have a lot of support.
Wow, that's great. What a career. Hello, listeners and viewers. Thank you so much for tuning into Tactical Treasures. We are speaking with Brigadier General Maureen Weigl. She is the Deputy Adjutant General for Veterans Affairs in the state of Pennsylvania. And we're having a very exciting conversation. She's done a lot in her military career, and now in her role, she is doing many things in the veteran space, serving the veterans in Pennsylvania. She has over 700,000 veterans that she is helping and providing resources for. And so if you want to find out more or reach out to her personally, she has said that you can reach out and she will answer. You can find her on LinkedIn. Maureen Hopkins Weigl is how you can send her a message, and check out PA Vet Connect. And that can be found at dmva.pa.gov, Veterans Affairs Vet Connect. Or you can just Google Vet Connect PA, and I'm sure a link will come up, and you can go on there and find out all the available resources for veterans. So can you tell me a little bit about Vets to Sets?
Yes. So, one of my friends who called me to ask me for consulting help actually was a producer, and he had 2 friends that were producers, and they had this concept of Vets to Set. He asked me what I thought about it. So we all talked, and I thought it was such a great idea. So if you know anything about the commercial and TV and movie production sites, they have a lot of production assistants that work for them. There's a lot of union jobs. There's a lot of busyness. It is organized chaos. So a military officer like me can come in and it doesn't seem so crazy. It's like, oh, we get it. You're going to set up here, and in 30 seconds, you're going to do a shoot, and then you're going to go somewhere else and do this all again. And all these people are going to go. It was fun. And I thought this was such a great opportunity for veterans that want to be in the production industry. It's very hard to get into if you don't know a producer, if you're not in the industry, if you don't have connections. So what Vets to Set does is we built a database where veterans all over the country can sign up and say, yes, I want to be considered to be a production assistant on anything. And then producers, we found many producers to go in and start asking for veterans. And it started working out. We have people working at SNL, 30 Rock, out in Hollywood on movies. We have people doing commercials, TV. We had folks backstage at the Emmys and the Grammys. And, they're volunteering to try it out. And the producers will find them, will pay them. So it's really a nonprofit. The 3 producers and I that started this, we don't pay ourselves. We just built the system. I verify all the veterans. They find more producers, and everybody loves it. The first person who did a Samsung drone commercial out in LA when we taped our video that's on our website, he actually was having a ball, and the drone company found out he was an Air Force drone operator, and they hired him right away. So it's, you know, you never know. It's just to get these folks their foot in the door. I was amazed and intrigued by how the production sites work. It was a lot of fun though.
Now, did they need to have like media experience or
No,
no? Okay.
for a production and assistant, you could do anything from tearing down and, you know, rebuilding a set. You just might be the person unloading a set. You might be asked to just pick up the actors or actresses at airports and drive people around. You might just be making coffee runs for people. I mean, they will give you meaningless to you, possibly tasks, but stuff that the producers needed things to get done. So you're doing busy work, but it gets your foot in the door. You're seeing what's happening. And if the producers like you, they'll give you more opportunities. And sometimes you won't do busy work. You can tell them you have experience with certain things like cinematography or sounds and lighting or a drone operator, and they'll give you different opportunities based on your experiences as you go in and introduce yourself to the producers.
Wow, that's really neat. Hello, listeners, viewers. Thank you for tuning into Tactical Treasures podcast. So I would like to introduce you to IW, or Irreverent Warriors. The JDog Foundation helps sponsor their what they call Silky Hikes. So it's an amazing time of camaraderie and mental wellness for our veterans who have served our country. They get together and do hikes, probably in close to 80 cities across the country. And lots of veterans show up, probably 150 to 200 veterans or more, and they hike 10 miles through the city. And it's a great time to connect, tell stories, and support one another and encourage one another in their mental wellness. And I encourage you to find out more about it. Veterans, military service people, if you're looking for a way to connect, this is a great way to do it. Check out irreverentwarriors.org and find where the next hike is, hopefully close to your location. So now you're at the Veterans Affairs office for the state of Pennsylvania. Talk about your role that you're doing there.
So in this role, I have the fun opportunity to represent Major General Schindler as a lead advocate Department of Military and Veteran Affairs for veterans. We advocate for veterans' rights. We work with legislators. We make sure that the veterans in Pennsylvania have the resources they need from the federal and state resources. And we also work with private-public partnerships to build a community of support. So over 700,000 veterans in Pennsylvania. I have 6 nursing homes, 2 in Philly, 1 in Scranton, 1 in Hollidaysburg, 1 in Erie, 1 in Pittsburgh, 24/7, wonderful nursing homes. 3 of them were in the top 25 nursing homes in Newsweek magazine for 2023. We're very proud of that. They have such great volunteers and an amazing staff that takes care of our veterans. They go to baseball games, football games. They were at the parade down in Philadelphia with me this weekend, and it's a lot of work to move that many wheelchairs to go to events, but our staff is amazing. They recognize that these veterans deserve their support and honor, and they love it. And then besides the nursing homes, we work with the communities. We work with all of your county directors. There's 67 county directors that are trained as veteran service officers. We make sure they're accredited and have all the information and support they need, because the county level is where everything happens. We work with your service organizations and the State Veterans Committee and the War Council. Those are all of your American Legions, VFWs, Marine Corps Leagues, et cetera. There's a long list of service organizations, and they all have people trained to help veterans access their benefits. And then my office, we also process claims and benefits to help people access all of their entitlements and benefits that they have from service-connected injuries or illnesses to get opportunities to use the VA medical systems. And then we also do community engagement to make sure we know where all the homeless shelters, where all the shelters that accept women, where the food banks are. And in Pennsylvania, 2 special programs, and I'm sorry, I'm taking too much time.
No, it's okay.
But the 2 cool have are the Governor's Advisory Council for Veteran Services. So my department, the Department of Military and Veteran Affairs, our department, we don't have all the resources available. We rely on our sister agencies, Department of Health, Human Services, Department of Aging. All of those wonderful directors and departments to share resources. And what we did is said, all right, let's look at the veteran population. What are the top issues that we collectively should work together to make sure we're sharing resources? So we work with an aging committee to look at all the palliative care options for folks who are not in my nursing home, those who are trying to get in my nursing home, and just educating everybody on options available for the aging population. In Pennsylvania, I told you we have over 700,000 veterans. Mm-hmm. That makes us the fourth largest population of veterans in the nation out of all the other states. We're the fourth largest. We also have a committee for homelessness. Veterans tend to have a higher propensity to have homeless or housing insecurity and food insecurity issues. That's still your Vietnam era veterans, but it's also female veterans that are returning, that are single moms or left the service years ago and didn't feel like they deserved or should have been entitled to some of the benefits because they maybe didn't feel as equitable as men because they weren't combat arms at the time. Today's everything is open to women. That I think will go away, but there's still a demographic of females. So we also have a committee for women to make sure we're addressing equitably all the resources that female veterans might need. We have one for behavioral health and suicide. So I'm sure you're aware that veterans still have a high number of suicides. Yeah. They say anywhere from 17 to 22, depending on what statistic you're looking at. Mm-hmm. A veteran commits suicide a day in the United States. So we've been tackling that. We have the Governor's Challenge that our team is leading. We're very active with DCED, DHS, DOH, again, all of our sister agencies to combat those issues. We work with the Judicial and Corrections Committee, and we have 25 veteran courts. 25 counties have veteran courts really helping veterans. And we have 5 veteran service units where veterans are in state correctional institutes, and those 5 units are only for veterans. And the folks that are in there for life, the veterans that are in there for life, mentor and help the veterans that are there that are going to leave. And the goal is to make sure we cut down on recidivism and that the veterans do not come back into the prison system and that they become contributing tax-paying citizens again. So it's really fun. And then my last big passion project is employment. So I've been working with so many corporations and small businesses to teach all of those corporations the benefits and the strengths veterans bring to their organizations, and also have them sign up for programs where they can get veterans coming off active duty. 200,000 veterans leave active duty every year. I want them back in Pennsylvania. So that's one really unique thing. And then we have PA Vet Connect. So at the end of this podcast, someone's like, darn, she talks a lot and I could not keep up with her. And I understand. So I would just tell them all to go to PA Vet Connect. If that's all they remember out of this podcast, then you and I did our job and it's perfect.
That's great. Yeah, that's one of the struggles that we have here at JDog is veteran employment. We were nearly 300 locations across the country of JDog junk removal and hauling franchise owners and carpet cleaning and floor care owners. And they want to hire their fellow veterans. And that is part of what I do here at JDog is try to hook them into those hiring resources where they can get veterans that they can hire to work in their JDog business. And it's a struggle. It's a struggle to find those pipelines. You would think with so many veterans getting out that, there would be, some fast track or something that we could, get to where we could find these pipelines where our JDogs owners can go to. Been trying to get into TAPS forever, cannot get through all that red tape because that would be an incredible situation to be able to have a connection with TAPS on a national level because we have so many JDogs. If they knew that they could work alongside other veterans in a very military-esque type of situation, it could be an option. But anyway, wow, you're doing great stuff in a lot of awesome spaces. So, but I do want to know, since this is Tactical Treasures, let's dive into your treasure. What would you like to share with us today?
Oh my. My tactical, I thought you were going to ask me one of those questions. I think I'd like to focus on women in the military.
Mm-hmm.
I had a really unique experience. I told you about basic training. My first 2 months as a second lieutenant on active duty, my roommate was shot and killed at Fort Bragg.
Oh no.
And talk about like, oh my goodness, what am I doing in this, business besides, drill sergeants? Now this happened and it was real. It wasn't a sexual assault. And at the time I found myself boxing up my roommate, Lisa Bryant, beautiful woman, graduated from Princeton, cum laude. Her parents are wonderful.
Oh, how
Packing
awful.
up her uniform and her belongings, and just like a very surreal moment that you were going through this. But
Yeah.
then, I watched how the military reacted and how then they separated men and women when you're training and sleeping in places. And I was in 2008 in Iraq, and I was sitting there and I was like, where's the female VIPs when I would go visiting different FOBs? And they're like, oh, you're over there. And I was like, it's really dark in that building over there. They're like, I know, but that's where women are. I was like, but the latrines are both over this way. And they're like, I know, but you have to stay over there. I was like, you're going to make me really vulnerable. And myself and this lieutenant colonel, we were both lieutenant colonels, went over to this building. I was like, I'll play. He couldn't open any of the doors. The doors were already all banged up and it looked like someone broke into them all. And he finally found one that didn't have a problem. And he handed me the key. And I said, I'm going to ask you 3 questions. I was like, first, how did these other doors get broken? And what happened to the women that were in them? And then I said, 2,
Right.
would you let your wife or daughter sleep here? And then I was like, and 3, I am not sleeping over here. I will sleep over near the guys where I know someone can hear me if I scream, if anything happened. Or 2, I'll just sleep on your office floor. And, we came a long way on trying to protect women, but the thought process was way off when you're going to put someone alone all the way by themselves, and make them 10 times more vulnerable. And when I made colonel, I was in charge, as I mentioned, of the soldier support division. And I sat there the morning I was getting ready for my promotion, and I realized it was the anniversary of my roommate's death 20 years prior, that I was now going to be in charge of all these sexual assaults. And the only thing that came to mind was this advice I received at 10 years in the service from a 2-star general who was so disrespected by a lieutenant colonel and some other men. And she saw how mad I got. And she just looked at me and she said, Maureen, I know you probably want to get out of the military right now. It's like, well, it's looking pretty good to do that. She said,
Yeah.
you can't fix it if you don't stay in. You can't fix it from the outside. And when I stood there that day getting promoted and looking around at the programs I was going to run, I had a voice now. And the cool thing is there are so many women in the military that the sheer number of voices have influenced such positive change. We have the first female chief of the Coast Guard. We have the first female secretary of the Army, first female 4-star combatant commander. Women now can do anything. When I joined, I was very limited on the positions and jobs I can have. Women can be Navy SEALs, airborne rangers. They could be fighter pilots. They could command ships. I am so proud of how far the military has progressed. And I look at other parents that have daughters that want to join. And I was like, the military today is absolutely an equal pay, equal rights job. Every E1, E2 gets paid the same, no matter if you're a female or a male, based on what your job is. And same with the officers. And that's just a cool tactical treasure, fun story that I think is really neat to take away from the military.
Yeah, that's, well, it's, women like you, ma'am, that have sort of paved the road for our ladies in the military, our women veterans that are in the military now, by using your voice and paving that road and making those, issues to mind and making change happen. So.
Yeah, and there were many before me that are just far more impressive and amazing, and I just love meeting them. And I've done a whole video for Veterans National Education Program where they teach ROTC and junior ROTC about military history through the eyes of those that served. And I just recently updated the video for women in the military, and I was floored by the stories from some of these amazing women, some of the first female fighter pilots, the first female helicopter pilots, the first female to be in the Navy ROTC back in 1976. And, what I went through was, nothing compared to some of the stuff they had to tolerate and deal with. And, we've progressed along, but it was so cool to hear their stories and put that together.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. So can you tell us where people can find you and find out all the information and resources and everything that you're pioneering?
Absolutely. You can go to my dmva.pa.gov. You can Google PA Vet Connect. You can also follow me on LinkedIn, Maureen Hopkins Weigl. I also have a Twitter account at Weigl Maureen. And I would love to help you with your employment initiatives and trying to find veterans. There are ways, and I will link up with you separately. But for those trying to, don't get discouraged. The good news is there are so many programs out there to try to find veteran jobs. The bad news is there are so many programs out there. So employers and service members don't know which one's the best and which one's going to link them up to that career. And as great as it is that we have all these initiatives, it's a little oversaturated, but I will help anybody who's trying to help veterans. There are programs, there are things we can do, and that I'm going to work with to get you involved with all the Soldier for Life type programs, the TAP programs, hire our heroes that go to the installations to let people know about what you're doing. And we can easily do that for you with all of the military installations and the current reserve component service members that are in Pennsylvania serving and are looking for other opportunities to work.
That would be great. We will talk offline. That would be fabulous. We have, oh my gosh, we have JDogs. We're saturated in Pennsylvania. And, we're in Texas and California and South Carolina and Georgia. And, we're really starting to get some legs. We're nearly 300 locations, which represents about 115 JDog franchise owners, all looking to hire their fellow brothers and sisters and give them, a hand up and have them come work alongside of them.
I love that. I loved learning and reading more about what JDog does. I think what you're doing is phenomenal. You're a huge success story for anyone that's trying to do boots to business and start their own entrepreneurial opportunities and small business opportunities. And you've been a huge success story. So I'd love to help other veterans.
Yeah. Love it. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Well, Welcome. It has been such an absolute pleasure speaking with you. And thank you so much for taking the time to be a guest on Tactical Treasures.
Well, thank you for having me. And I really appreciate the time. I know I talked a lot, but thank you.
No, all good information. And we'll be excited to push this out and get this out to everybody.
Please do. And please let everyone know you could reach out to me for real and I will reply and get you to the help that you need. So don't be shy to send me a note. I will absolutely reply.
That's great. Well, take care and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. All right.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Hello, viewers and listeners. I hope you have enjoyed this episode of Tactical Treasures podcast, where we've been speaking to Brigadier General Maureen Weigl. She is the Deputy Adjutant General for Veterans Affairs in the state of Pennsylvania, and she has had an amazing military career and is doing amazing things at her role there in Veteran Affairs in Pennsylvania. And if you want to find out more about all the resources that the veterans have, check out PA Vet Connect. That's dmva.pa.gov/Veterans Affairs/Vet Connect, or you can just Google PA Vet Connect, and I'm sure a link will come up where you can go on that website and check out all the resources that veterans have available to you. You can also reach out to her personally on her LinkedIn, Maureen Hopkins Weigl. Send her a message and she will respond. And thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Tactical Treasures podcast. Well, we'll see you soon on the next one. Thank you for listening.